Hello, and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. Before we begin today, I want to share something briefly. Judy won't be joining me for Wisdom Wednesdays for a little while. She's taking time to tend to some personal needs, and that's exactly where she needs to be right now. We're holding her with a lot of care. If you're someone who prays, you might include her with your prayers. If prayer isn't part of your life, good thoughts, kind wishes, or gentle vibes are just as welcome. I know she would feel supported by that. And with that, let's move on to our talk. Finding yourself is overrated. The search for yourself may actually be the problem. I'm really glad you're here. And I want to say that from my heart, because for many women, being here has not been simple. You have shown up through exhaustion, even numbness, through days where you functioned because you had to, not because you felt ready. So before you begin, you don't need to be settled. You don't need clarity. You don't even need answers. You only need to arrive as you are, where you are. Let's begin with a small pause. If it feels comfortable, let your body settle into whatever is holding you right now. The chair, possibly the floor. Notice that you're supported without effort. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it out gently through your mouth. There is nothing to fix in this moment. Just notice, I am here. And that's enough. When I started my journey of self-discovery, I didn't even know self-discovery was a thing. I just knew that I needed a job and I needed to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I was sick and tired of talking about the divorce, the abuse, and the man. Those around me told me everything would be fine, that getting back on that horse was the way to go. There were also a bunch of platitudes volleyed my way. I know they meant well, but it didn't help. I was untethered and unstable. I was not fine. I was a mess, a hot mess. After considering going back and then abandoning that plan, I began to own my mess because that's all I had. Once I owned it, everything started to look different. Not brighter, just different. There is a moment many women are not prepared for after survival mode. The crisis is past, the worst has ended, and instead of relief, there's a strange quiet, an emptiness, a dullness, a tiredness that just doesn't lift. You don't feel strong, but you don't feel weak either. You can't feel weak because there's probably someone depending on you. You definitely don't feel like yourself, whatever that is. Here's what I want to share with you. The pause is the next natural step. It's not giving up. It's not weakness. It is not a lack of motivation. It's what happens when your nervous system has been on high alert for a long time, finally stops running. The system doesn't leap into joy. It rests. It craves the rest. And rest can feel like nothing. When women talk about losing themselves, they often assume that something is wrong with them, as if they failed to hold on to who they were. But what usually happens is quieter than that. It's not that parts of you disappeared. They simply stepped back. During a crisis, your attention had a job. Its focus narrowed. It focused on what had to be handled, endured, and managed. Your system learned that it was not time for preference, curiosity, or reflection. It learned to prioritize function over feeling. So the parts of you that wonder, that want, that respond to pleasure or meaning didn't vanish. They retreated. Not out of fear, but out of intelligence. They waited. And when the pressure eased, when the urgency lifted, something unexpected happened. Space. And instead of relief, there was a void, a sense of nothingness. No clear feeling, no clear direction. That emptiness can be deeply unsettling because it comes without explanation. You can't think your way out of it. You can't motivate your way through it. No amount of reassurance seems to make it go away. That's because the void is not a problem to solve. It's a place of transition. It's the space between bracing and becoming. Your system has not yet learned that it's safe to open again, so it rests in neutral. Identity does not rush back into that space. It waits for permission. Pressure does not bring it forward. Effort does not call it home. What allows those parts to return is gentleness, time, a sense that nothing is being demanded. Identity does not survive pressure. It survives permission. You're just giving yourself time to return. We've been told to find ourselves as if we wandered off somewhere and forgot who we are, as if there is a clear, confident version of you hiding behind a door waiting for you to knock loudly enough. That idea sounds hopeful on the surface, but underneath, it creates strain. It suggests effort, searching, trying harder. And for women coming out of survival, effort is often what depleted them in the first place. So let's pause here and talk about what's missing from that message. Safety. And when I say safety, I don't mean the absence of danger. I mean the presence inside you that does not demand that you perform, decide, or improve right now. Safety looks like not being rushed, not being evaluated, not being told you should be further along than you are. Safety is knowing you can be exactly where you are without consequences. Without that, self-discovery cannot happen. Because when you don't feel safe, your system stays oriented toward protection. And protection doesn't ask, who am I? It asks, how do I get through this? When we push ourselves to find who we are without first creating safety, we end up turning inward pressure into a project. And that pressure keeps the door closed. You don't need to find yourself. You need to feel safe enough for yourself to return. And that changes the journey entirely. So let me share something that might make this easier to understand. When my rescued dog, Roxy, came into my life, she didn't arrive ready to be known. She was cautious, watchful, always paying attention to the room. If I moved too quickly, she'd pull back. If I reached for her too soon, she shook uncontrollably. Not because she was stubborn, not because she was damaged, because she was learning whether this space was safe. I didn't train her into trust, and I didn't explain safety to her. I was just consistent, quiet, and predictable. And slowly, without being asked, she began to come forward. A glance, a tail wag, choosing to sit closer. That's how safety works, and that's how identity returns. Self-discovery is not a dramatic moment of insight. It's not linear in the way you expect progress to be. It unfolds slowly, in small recognitions, in preferences you didn't know you were allowed to have, in limits you no longer override. It is a practice of allowing what is to be what it is without immediately trying to change it, especially without trying to change it now. This practice takes patience, it takes repetition, and it takes compassion. Compassion for the part of you that learned to survive by pushing. I need to say something here. There is nothing wrong with you. Those words, that idea that something is wrong, usually came from outside of you, from pressure, from expectations, from moments where you had to adapt to stay connected or stay alive. You are not a problem to be solved. You're actually a treasure to be uncovered and enjoyed at your own pace. And that kind of discovery only happens when you're met with patience, not urgency, with permission, not pressure. That's the journey that I'm talking about here. You know, patience is often misunderstood. It's not waiting while doing nothing. It's staying present without forcing resolution. Patience says, I do not need to rush this. For women who've lived by necessity and responsibility, patience can feel uncomfortable, even unproductive. But patience is what allows truth to surface. Let's name the cultural piece here, because pretending it doesn't matter doesn't help. Social media. Social media rewards performance, certainty, and confidence. It makes identity look fast and polished and resolved. And when you're in a slower, quieter season, that contrast can feel brutal. You scroll and think everyone else seems to know who they are, what they want, and where they're going. Meanwhile, you're wondering why you can't even answer simple questions without feeling tired. Well, here's the reality. Most people are performing at life, not living it. Identity is not built in public. It forms in the private moments of honesty, and comparison interrupts that process. Identity comes back the same way trust does, not in declarations and not in big decisions, but in the small recognitions, in the small decisions. You notice what no longer fits. You notice what matters to you. These are not minor details. They are your internal compass recalibrating. You get to ask different questions now. Questions like, am I safe enough to listen to myself? Am I safe enough to change my mind? Am I safe enough to want something? That is self-discovery. Let's talk about self-discovery in a way that does not exhaust you, because many women come to this work already tired. They've tried reflection, they've tried fixing, they've tried becoming better versions of themselves, and the effort has often taken more than it is given. The kind of self-discovery I'm talking about is different. It's not about goals, it's not about reinvention, and it's not about deciding who you should be next. It's about noticing. Noticing is powerful because it does not ask you to change anything. When you notice something, you are simply telling the truth. And telling the truth to yourself quietly and without consequence is where integrity begins to return. You notice when something gives you a small sense of ease, not happiness, not excitement, just ease. You notice when your body says no before your mind has time to explain it away. That pause matters. You notice what you continue to tolerate out of habit rather than desire, not to judge it, just to see it. These moments may seem small, but they're not. Each time you notice without forcing change, you send yourself a powerful message. I'm listening. I'm allowed to know what I know. And over time, life shifts. You begin to trust your responses instead of overriding them. You begin to adjust your life in small, honest ways. Not because you decided to, but because alignment starts to feel better than the effort. This is how self-discovery moves you forward without burning you out. It's not fast. It's not dramatic, but it is steady and it is real. And it is how integrity returns, not as a concept, but as a lived experience. Integrity is not about morality. It's about alignment. It's the quiet practice of acting in ways that don't betray yourself. Saying no when you mean no. Saying yes when you mean yes. Resting without justification. Letting your life reflect your actual capacity. This is not selfish. It's stabilizing. Self-care is often framed as indulgence, but true self-care is about regulation. It's about creating conditions where your system doesn't have to brace. Simple things, predictability, gentleness, enough rest. These aren't luxuries. They're what make self-discovery possible. Let's take a brief pause here. Just take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth and ask yourself quietly, what do I need more of right now? And what do I need less of? If you can't answer right now, that's okay. Take a few moments before you close your eyes to sleep tonight and ponder one of the questions. You don't need a perfect answer, just an honest one. If you can, write it down, either in your phone, your journal, or a piece of paper, and let that be enough. You're already in the process of becoming yourself. Nothing is missing. You're just giving yourself time to return. through patience, through compassion, through integrity, with care. Identity is not something you achieve. It's something you allow. As always, I'm going to leave you with a blessing. If you want, close your eyes and let this settle in your heart. May you trust the pace your life is moving at right now. May you honor the signals your body offers you. May self-trust grow quietly, without pressure, without performance. And may you know that you are not lost, only protected. And that's enough for now. See you next week.